Alright, on to chapter 8 of our lovely book. I would recap the last two chapters, but she just talked to a bunch of people on the phone. So, yeah, ready? On to chapter 8. Hopefully, something interesting happens because, God, nobody could rent me the kind of power I needed in a vehicle, but I only meant to use it until Bergman showed, so I ended up leasing one. That chore accomplished, I spent the rest of the time until dusk rearranging furniture. I reset the pit using a completely different configuration than the hotel preferred and thinking I'd showed up their designers big time. Evie always forces me to watch HD TV when I visit, and I felt sure most of the decorators would approve of the cozy new conversation area I'd created. Now I just had to figure out why I thought I needed one. I was just getting the urge to shuffle cards in response to this new brain teaser when darkness fell. A strange sound from Vale's room made me jump to my feet. It was half gulp, half gasp, what you might expect to hear from a man who's not accustomed to screaming. I was through his door before the sound stopped, grief cocked in my hand. Bill stood in front of the tent-covered bed, staring at me as if I had come to spear him with stakes and drown him in holy water. He was naked. Whoa! I covered my eyes and spun around. Redundant, I know, but that 2-second view of his magnificent pale bod, had activated my conservative Midwestern values, chief among those the belief that you don't oogle naked men who don't already belong to you. Fuck that noise. I'm sorry, I heard this noise and it sounded like you were in danger, so I came to save you. I'm out of here, I said, moving towards the door. No, stay. There was a... ellipses. He stopped, pulled himself together. I found a snake in my luggage. What is he, Indiana Jones? Only Indy gets to be afraid of snakes, damn it. I turned back around, following the direction of his pointer finger. Oh, how glad he... Oh my God, why? Did we need to know that detail? His suitcase lay where he'd appended it, on the floor between the bed and the wall. That sentence could have just been one sentence. What kind of snake, I asked. Big, but not moving. I think, yes, I'm almost sure it was dead. Wow, he was doing a great job of not freaking, considering how he felt about non-legged reptiles. I edged toward the suitcase, towed it upright. All I see is clothes. I need your cane. As he went to the dresser for it, I said, You mean to tell me you didn't open the suitcase until this morning? Everything I needed for the party was in the garment bag. And, as you see, I do not wear pajamas. Actually, I'm trying not to see, thank you very much. I took the cane in my left hand, grief still ready for action in my right. Flipped over a shirt, a couple of pairs of silk boxers, and there it was, a long brown rattler as thick as a child's arm. Wouldn't silk boxers get uncomfortable? I mean, silk doesn't breathe. And they're in Florida. And things get kind of hot. Especially when you're doing activities. I mean, I don't know. I don't wear silk boxers. Maybe you all could let me know how that goes. I poked it. Nothing. It didn't curl in response, didn't rattle, didn't move at all. You're right. It's dead, I told him. He nodded. Do you suppose it was alive when it was placed in my bag? Yeah, I kind of think so. I imagine it died either from the rough handling of the baggage or the cold temperatures it was subjected to on the plane. Snakes on a plane! These motherfucking snakes on this motherfucking plane. I had to do that. God, I love that movie. Well, just that part anyway. He nodded again. Someone does not want us to complete this mission. Because if we do, they're going to be in very hot water. Or dead. I love how they have conversations, but they don't bother telling you who's saying what. And I'm sure you realize that as I've been reading it, that sometimes I'll just rattle off dialogue, and you have no idea who the fuck is talking. Let me get rid of this snake for you while you get ready. We can figure this out after you're dressed. I leaned over to pick up the snake and Vale yelled, No! Shit! It was the first time I'd ever heard him raise his voice, and he nearly had me jumping out of my skin. What if it comes back to life? Vale, it's not gonna... Ellipses. I met his eyes. Okay, maybe the idea wasn't beyond the realm of possibility. Since he wanted to play it safe, I unsheathed his sword and cut the sucker's head off. Then I dumped the parts into the trash can and headed outdoors with the liner. Isn't there blood? We'll talk when I get back, I said. Very professionally, I thought, considering the fact that the sight of Vale's nakedness was imprinted on the backs of my eyeballs, and all I wanted to do was get out of the room so I could savor that picture. Vale nodded and headed for the shower. And if I gave that fine muscular behind a glance before leaving his room, I hope no red-blooded woman on earth could blame me. What I didn't expect to see were the scars crisscrossing his broad shoulders and back. Of course he has scars. Of course. How cliché. I winced, wondering if they'd come before or after his change. Either way, damn. After disposing of the snake, I curled up on one of the couches in the conversation area I'd created. Bill came out of his room shortly afterward. Apparently the new furniture arrangement was less conducive to talk than I had anticipated, because speech suddenly failed me. Unless he'd switched to camouflage mode, Vale rarely entered a room without everyone feeling his presence. His personality could be like mist, drifting gently into your lungs until every breath sent him sliding through your veins. What? Mist does not do that. Please, if you've encountered mist that slides gently through your veins, contact me. What shitty imagery. Or, like a violent change in air pressure, it could reach out and slam you against the wall. At the moment, looking at him through eyes I hoped hadn't glazed over, I wouldn't have noticed if a ninja had dropped through the ceiling and started breaking chairs. Why would a ninja break chairs? He moved with the total body awareness of a professional athlete, and now that I knew what the body looked like, I couldn't take my eyes off it. If a scientist gave a lecture on the alpha male, she'd definitely throw in a few slides of Vale. Vale, ellipses. You, ellipses. I caught his eyes and stopped speaking. They were the gray-blue of storm-swept waves, snapping dangerously over lips compressed so tightly I could see the outline of fangs beneath them. Are you okay? I asked, some instinct making me touch the gun now resting in my shoulder holster. Vale descended into the pit and dropped onto the couch. I'd positioned a diagonal with mine. For a minute he just sat there with his elbows on his knees, staring off into space. Vale? Something is wrong with my blood supply. What do you mean? Vale jumped up and started pacing. The blood I brought to sustain me, it's tainted. I felt the familiar bewilderment that used to fog my brain when my math teacher handed me a word problem. How was I supposed to know which train would reach Dallas first? Good question. I never knew that fucking answer either. How could you tell? I asked. Vale grabbed one of the decorative pillows off the couch and began picking at one corner of it. I'd never seen him so shaken, and it was starting to scare me. Look, Vale, just tell me what you know. Vale sat down again, avoiding my gaze, watching his fingers worry at the pillow instead. When I went to get a drink, I realized something was wrong. That is, once the blood I had warmed, I could smell something in it that should not have been there. Something my nose tells me will make me ill. Did you check all the bags? Yes, they're all tainted. First the God's armed goons, then the snake, now the blood. Who is doing this? Did you keep some? We should get it tested. Yes. This is bad, bad, bad. Vale, are you thinking what I'm thinking? Of course, but snake venom and polluted blood would not kill me. They would only make me sick. Sick, like out of commission? Sick as in vulnerable? Very possibly. Then maybe these are just preludes to another attack. I waited for Vale to agree, but he just shrugged. The pillow in his hands began to come apart. I was beginning to identify with it, big time. Okay, Jazz, keep it together. You're a trained pro. Eventually you will find the ass that needs kicking, and that's exactly what you'll do, as long as you keep it together. So let's figure out who's doing this, I said, more to myself than Vale. I don't think it could have been Pete. He was too ready to agree with our suggestions. That still leaves several highly trusted suspects. He shook his head. We have been betrayed. Dun, dun, dun. He sounded like he'd already had some bitter experience in that area. You told me yesterday that we had some evidence the Raptor had a government official on his payroll, right? Yes. What if it's one of the senators on our oversight committee? They would have all kinds of reasons for keeping us from completing this assignment if, as a result, it were to come out that they were connected to the Raptor. And if I'm right, we are dealing with one of the world's major scumbags. Keep talking, Vale encouraged me. I shrugged. I just can't think of anybody else who would know where we were, who could gain access to your blood supply, and who would maybe know before me about snakes. I've never told anyone about that but you. Wow, really? No, but anybody who read your reports might just glean that information, reading between the lines. If you had a mission that involved snakes, I don't know, I'm really reaching now. No, he said quietly, his eyes on the wall like someone had projected some horrifying memories there. I had a case in 1939. Ellipses. This abhorrence, I feel, is directly and probably obviously related to that case. I waited. When he didn't provide any details, I didn't pout, but I did consider swiping his file. Would it still be on Pete's desk? We have a nasty problem, Vale. Two, actually. Yeah? Vale sank back into the couch, looking as weak as a cancer patient. Oh my god, that's so bad. Not only is someone trying to kill me, but now I have to find a fresh blood supply. I knew that, as we sat there staring at each other, we were sharing the same thoughts. Neither of us wanted to say them out loud, but it had to be done. I started. So what are our options? They are limited. Vale drew in a deep breath, collapsed his hands together convulsively. I'd never seen him so agitated. I cannot hunt. Ellipses. Made a vow. He looked at me out of the corner of his eye. I know that must sound stupid and old-fashioned to you. Not at all. Of course hunting is out. We're the good guys. Vale's lips twitched. Okay, I amended. We're walking a thin line between good and bad, but we're not kidnapping kids or blowing up federal buildings, so I say, if we're erring, it's on the side of good. Which is why we cannot raid a blood bank or anything similar to that. I agree. Weren't we just two reasonable people? It's what we spooks do when the alternative is blind panic. So what can you do? I can find a willing donor. Vampires tend to attract them. I know of one in the area I might approach. Whoa, buddy. Where did you go when I wasn't looking? You've made a contact? Recently? If Vale had any blood in him, he would have blushed. He avoided meeting my eyes, and he started to fidget like I just caught him slipping a frog into the teacher's desk. Well, yes. He straightened up and looked me in the eye, realizing maybe that he didn't have to answer to anyone, me the least. I cannot discuss it right now. His look softened. Did I really seem that hurt? I will tell you later when we have time. You want to save it for the plane ride back? He nodded, the corner of his mouth lifting. Yes, I will make everything clear to you then. Maybe. Everything gave me leave to cover an awful lot of ground. One thing I was sure of, after all these attempts on our lives, I couldn't see me loitering outside some locked door while God knew what went down inside. What if this willing donor of Vale's was part of the next wave? I voiced my worries. Vale didn't seem to see it my way at first, but I kept talking. Vale, be logical. We are two of the most clandestine people on earth, and yet whoever is after us has found us on a highway, infiltrated your luggage, tainted your blood supply. You can't do this with someone you can't trust. Our eyes met. I didn't have to say anything. He knew what choices remained to him. Still he resisted. I will not. I cannot. Why not? Vale looked at me a long time, his jaw clenching and unclenching as if the words he was about to say needed to be chewed first, ground under his molars until the sharp edges wore away. Yasmina. He stopped. Thought a minute. Tried again. I do not know what it would do to us. You'd be stepping into a path that could lead you to vampirism. Not if you don't drain me. Not if I don't drink your blood. You are right. But because you are sensitive, you probably would change. I must have looked puzzled because he kept trying to explain. The kind of joining you are suggesting is not one way. So what you're saying, that there's magic in your backwash? The tightness around Vale's eyes eased a little, and a dimple appeared on his right cheek. You could say that. What might happen to me? This is so fucking inane. Vale sank back into his couch, and I sat beside him. I've never done such a thing with a sensitive, so it's impossible to predict. Could you make it so I could fly? I asked. That got his attention. What? I felt a little self-conscious, but figured the time to guard my ego had long passed. I've always wanted to fly, I confided, like Superman, only without the ridiculous costume. It is not... Or how about superhuman strength, so when I throw people, they sail across the room? This is serious. Vale's eyes bored into mine, twin obsidian pebbles that looked ready to bury me under a great avalanche. It ticked me off. Here I was, offering the guy his life, basically, and all he could do was threaten me with metaphorical boulders. You have no idea, Yasmina. The two of us will mix at a very basic level. I cannot predict the outcome. You cannot know the risk. I considered shaking him till his teeth rattled. Thought better of it. Vale, calm down. Damn, you're grouchy when you're hungry. That got him. He dug the heel of his palm into the furrows between his eyes. You are insane, you know that? Ouch. I'm just being practical. I knew someday I might have to bare my throat to you. Pete and I discussed the very possibility. As for danger and risk-taking, that's what Pete pays me to do. And you and I both know he intends to get his money's worth. Yasmina, I cannot. Why not? Because you're not food. I stared at him for a minute. Then I started to grin. I couldn't help it. Vale, I tried to keep my face straight. I'm not asking you to eat me. Vale's jaw dropped and I burst into peals of laughter. That wasn't that funny. Not gonna lie. Eventually I heard him chuckling along with me and I knew we'd be okay. When I had my warped sense of humor back under control, I said, "It's just a temporary solution until we can figure out something better, okay?" When he sighed and his shoulders dropped out of defensive mode, I knew I'd won. Bill hesitated one more moment. "I will not take much," he assured me. "Only what I need and no more. No more, no more, no more." I sighed as I felt his power settle over me, warm and comforting as an old quilt. His fingers grazed my neck as he swept my hair aside. His lips brushed my earlobe, moved down to my throat. He kept nuzzling me with his lips, caressing me with the tips of his fangs until something new rose between us. A force that sizzled and snapped, making the very air churn. I could hear my breath coming in gasps. "Vale, please." "Yes," he said, his voice hoarse with desire. "For me? For my blood?" I wasn't sure there was any difference just then. I wanted to delve further into this new insight, but my frontal lobe chose that moment to completely shut down. Even the pain of his teeth penetrating my skin didn't wake it up. The air shimmered with power, with magic. My head buzzed with it. Through the closed lids, I watched colored bubbles of light dance across the walls. The darkness came so quickly after that, I never even knew it had taken me until I returned to myself and I realized I was laying on the couch with one leg flung over its arm. Bill sat on the other couch, staring at me like a goat in extra head as I struggled to sit up. A tightness on my neck caused me to reach up, but when my fingertips encountered a gauze pad, I dropped my hand back into my lap. "What?" I asked, trying hard not to cry. I don't know if I was more distressed that I blacked out or that I missed most of an experience that had promised to be unforgettable. "Did I do something wrong?" I asked. "Did I say something out of line? What the hell just happened?" Bill shook his head. "You were perfect, better than the best. It has never been like that for me before." Just how sucks. For me either. We smiled at each other. The hard knot of fear that twisted my heart with every new blackout relaxed. Vale didn't know. My secret was still safe. Now that my attention could wander, I realized the experience had left some after effects. "I do feel kind of funky, though," I commented. He sat forward, his eyes narrowing with concern. "How do you mean?" Like drunk, but not." I thought Vale would come sit beside me, fuss over me a little, but he sat statue still, like a street performer who's run out of gray body paint. Finally he whispered, "I know." "Know what?" "It is as if you are an entire spectrum of light that just became visible to me. I can hear your heart beating. I can sense your hunger pangs. I know you're frightened. You're also elated, tired, worried, and—" His voice dropped. "Excited." "Oh no," I said. "Oh no, oh no, oh no." I bit my lip hard, stopping the litany with my own blood. Vale had kept his word. He left me plenty. It trickled onto my chin as I tried to stand, but I moved too fast and lost my balance. Vale caught me just before I landed in a heap on the floor. As soon as I regained my equilibrium, I growled, "Back off." He stepped away. "No, I mean with your senses or whatever. You were supposed to give me superpowers. You were supposed to make me fly. You weren't supposed to march through my thoughts like a lumberjack in a rainforest. Yasmina, that's not how it happened. There's no need to panic." "I'm not panicking." But I was, and I had no way to hide it. "I don't want you inside my head," I told him, keeping my voice as reasonable as possible, considering I just wanted to stuff my face in a pillow and scream. "It's too intimate, too scary. I'm not ready for that." I realized I was yelling and covered my mouth. "I warned you. I told you." I raised my hand to stop him talking, trying to swallow my oceanic fears. I did. "I can't have you exploring me like that. There are things you don't know, things I can't explain." I stopped, took a deep breath to keep myself from babbling on until he did discover my secret. His lips twitched. "Are you really that bad?" "Well, no. I'm just not that good." So every time I pause, assume there's an ellipses there, okay? Because I can't just say it every single time it comes up. "Maybe that's why I find you so interesting." "Huh," was my brilliant reply. He nodded to the couch, urging me to cool my jets. "Yasmina, the change has begun. You cannot let it destroy you." I sank down and he sat beside me. I said, "No, I can't. Can't. So please relax. I promise you I will not probe. I will not intrude. Your thoughts, your memories are still your own." "Okay." I took a deep breath and leaned back. He turned slightly to face me, his eyes spilling emotions I couldn't hope to catch, especially not in my current state. I believed for some time that I should do this, he said, but our journey has convinced me. You must take this. He pulled a gold chain out from under his shirt and unlatched it, freeing a ring from its loop. He held the ring out to me, and I stared at it as it sat in my palm. As it sat in his palm. Intricately woven golden knots formed the band. In the center of each knot glittered a superb little ruby. The exquisite craftsmanship made the ring resemble a magical artifact, like a token of love left at the bottom of the lake of dreams by some broken-hearted nymph. Oh, wow. I touched it as if it was crafted of spun glass. You like it, then? Vale slipped it onto my finger. Though it sat on my right hand, the feeling still spooked me, as if we just agreed on some sort of unmarriage. It's gorgeous, I said, holding my arm out to see it better. I dropped my hand to my lap as a thought occurred to me. I can't keep it. What? It's too much, Vale. Too expensive, too beautiful, too personal. Plus, Pete would kill me. Remember what he said about not accepting gifts? From clients, not from each other. Yasmina. Frustration furrowed his eyebrows, edged his tone. Why do you always have to make everything so difficult? My first instinct was to argue, but I had no basis. Vale had made this wonderful gesture. Did I really have did I really have to spit in his hand? It's just I don't understand why you would give me this when you're right. I've been a pain in the ass lately. Because it's more than just a gift. You wear a ring made by my father's father on the day I was born. It's called Cyrilai, which means guardian. My mother, as she lay dying from a difficulty in my birth, had a vision of my death. She knew it would be violent. She knew it would endanger my soul. Cyrilai contains all the ancient powers my family could muster to protect me. As long as it exists, I may lose my life, but I cannot lose my soul. Holy crap! I'd heard fables about such artifacts, but to actually have one wrapped around my finger? Well, to be honest, it made me feel kind of nauseous. Why on earth would you give me something so precious? If I'd known him for years, maybe I could have read the answer in those amber eyes. He must have spent a minute trying to tell me things with them that words could not express, but too much of the unknown still stood between us to allow a translation. Well, okay, I gotta give him that. At least it's not that cheesy. I looked in his eyes and I had his answer, and we'd only known each other for like an hour. That's what I told myself. Maybe I was just too scared to let myself understand. Finally, he said, I give you Suralai because the ring will protect you as well, and because I sensed in you the same power that is invested in the ring. The two of you belong together with me. It's like the ring that belonged with Sauron. At the risk of sounding like a 2-year-old, I repeated myself, but why? Thank goodness, unlike mine, Vale's patience isn't tied to a lit fuse. His hand claps together in his lap. You and Sarah remind me that, while I'm no longer human, I am also no better than a human. Is that all? We keep you humble? Think of what happens to people who possess such powers as mine when they decide their ideas, agendas, race are superior to all others. Napoleon, I whispered. Hitler, Hussein. They were vampires? Name dropping, dude. Not cool. Vale nodded solemnly. In guarding my soul, you protect the world, and this is why I need you as my assistant. Man. Finally, an explanation for our partnership that made some sort of sense. One that raised Vale so high in my esteem that, even though he'd never need it, I'd happily step between him and a bullet, which gave me an insight into Albert I'd rather not have. But you can't continue to believe your dad's a complete tool when others respect him just as highly. I would like to ask you something, Vale said. What's that? Why do you rearrange the furniture again? I'm sorry. Why did you rearrange the furniture again? Well, I wanted to work out, and... Again? Remember Ethiopia and Germany and Hong Kong? Yeah, so? So you have rearranged the furniture in every apartment, hotel, and hut we have ever stayed in since I've known you, and always the same way. I just wondered why. Oh, I laughed weakly, racking my brain for a plausible excuse. Well, that's the way it was the way it always was growing up. No matter what house we were living in, Mom arranged the furniture the same way to make you feel like home. Damn fine explanation, I must say, and one Bill swallowed whole. I was just wondering. Let's go kick somebody's butt, I suggested, thinking it would sure make me feel better. I feel like I really could throw a bad guy across the room. And suddenly we have so much from... Sorry. And suddenly we have so many from which to choose, Vale thought a moment, giving me time to rearrange my brain. Like the furniture, it made no sense to me, but I did recover most of my scattered control. Do you have any ideas? He asked. Hassan comes to mind immediately. I'm sure it would be a pleasure ending his existence, but he is more valuable to us as he is right now, oblivious and unabused. First, we need to find out where he and Aiden are storing the virus. And how they're making it, I added. Do you suppose they're keeping their notes at Hassan's place? It is possible, though Aiden seems to be the creator. We need to ascertain where he's staying as well. Sure would be handy if we had contact on the inside, I said, but Hassan's staff is unapproachable. What about his family? You mean his wife? We shared a knowing look. You mean the jealous wife who hired a private investigator? We both nodded. With the butt kicking officially tabled, I moved across the pit to a mauve armchair beside which stood an end table with the phone on top, a drawer for the phone book, and a lamp to read it by. Most men I meet through work tend to avoid the whole live a normal guy gig. In fact, most guys I meet through work want to kill me. So when I found Cole's number and name listed in the white pages, I felt a sudden urge to giggle. It went away just as quickly. I'd met a normal guy. Big whoop. That didn't make me any more normal. He answered his phone on the first ring. Cole Beaumont. Cole, this is Lucille Robinson. We met last night. You remembered. Are you kidding? I've been kicking myself all day for not getting your number. We stopped speaking for a moment, homage to the kiss. Cole, I have a problem I hope you could help me with. I kept my voice businesslike since Phil sat 3 feet away, and I also didn't want to lead Cole astray. Sure, Cole said. Don't you think you want to hear it first? Doesn't matter. You saved my hide yesterday, plus my lips are still tingling. At this point, I'm prepared to do just about anything you suggest. Yipes, what have I unleashed? I wanted to say, Cole, despite my actions last night, I am not looking for a relationship with you. I can't maintain a relationship with you due to the fact that I don't want to. Also, I travel almost constantly, and my boss is a vampire who I find disturbingly fascinating. These life choices don't make me a good candidate for a pet owner, much less girlfriend. But I needed Cole to help me get information, which meant I needed him interested for just a while longer. Damn, damn, damn. Can my partner and I meet you somewhere in about an hour? Your partner? It's kind of impossible to explain over the phone. Okay, how about in Bertho's? It's semi-private and the food's great. Fine. Cole gave me directions when we hung up. I looked at Bill. It's set. Good. And? And what? You want to say something else, I can tell. I nodded. Sometimes this job sucks. So there we have it. Chapter 8. I'll see you guys tomorrow.